Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Week That Was. I'm Saeed Khan, and as you might notice, we've got a little bit thinner of a group today, although qualitatively still up there. I assure you that this is not because we've been gerrymandered or redistricted that we only have this many people on. But again, it's one of the last Fridays of the summer and right before Labor Day, and I suspect that some people are certainly enjoying the remains of the season and before kids and everybody else is getting either back to school or back to a full slate of work. But fear not, it's been another action-packed week. August is certainly not the doldrums when it comes to the news cycle. Oh, and with that prompting, we have someone else joining us. Great. We are now at 6. We have public relations specialist Beverly Watts. We have pollster Ed Sarpolus. 2 of our 3 regular lawyers, Bill Seikaly and Joel Sklar, and of course, the co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Allan Lengel. So, who was it, by the way, who sang North to Alaska? Was it Johnny Whitaker or Roger Whitaker?
No, it was...
Well, we'll
right now. Last name was Dean.
Well, it wasn't James Dean. So Johnny Horton? Yes, Johnny Horton it was.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, it seems like a lot of activity was happening up in Alaska, where President Trump had a very brief meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Doesn't seem as though a whole lot came out of it, but enough to then have another meeting in the White House earlier this week involving Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who brought friends and receipts, along with the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Keir Starmer, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and various other leaders from the European Union countries. And we are, exactly 1 week later, still not really very far on moving the needle regarding the Ukrainian conflict. Ed, what was going on there? Was this just optics? Was this Trump feeling a little bit too idealistic, like when he had the hot mic moment saying to Emmanuel Macron from France, I think he wants to do a deal for me.
I think you have to go back to that immediately, because if you look at what Putin was saying when he got back to Russia, it almost appears that way. And the third thing is the fact that now Trump's already indicating, I don't want to be part of any meeting between Putin and Zelensky. Bottom line is he blew it. Okay. I mean, he was thinking whether it's a loss, and now they're talking. Matter of fact, if you listen to some of the military generals, they're already looking at they're already offering Zelensky other opportunities to bomb Russia right now. So this is a walk away because Trump realizes it ain't going anywhere.
Well, and on that point, just yesterday, Russia bombed an American factory in Ukraine. So, yes. So much for the palling around going on in Alaska. Yeah, Bill, you were shaking or nodding your head. What do you think happened in the Great North?
Well, I think it was classic Trump. I think he declared victory before anything else happened, and he's now going to eat this. Look. Can you imagine the Soviet Union or Russia bombing an American factory anytime in our recent history, and the president doesn't even say anything about it? This is nuts. And that didn't happen just by accident. The bombing of that factory didn't just happen. I think that I don't know if you've seen the video of when Trump actually got in the limousine with, when Putin got in the limousine with Trump, and they're driving away, and Putin looks out the window and starts laughing. I think he played him.
Yes.
I think that
I saw that,
and I will tell you that there is little doubt in my mind. I know you never really know this, but there's little doubt in my mind that former KGB agent said, "Hey, do I have to remind you of what we've got in your file?" And
well, as a matter of fact, he purposely showed his face out the window. He didn't have to do that. That was intentional.
Right.
I
agree with you.
Alaska, he didn't come to the White House. That was a sign too. Alaska.
But the fact that it wasn't in a neutral third country, Beverly. I mean, the fact that
Saeed, where was he going
Trump
to go? There's arrest warrants out for him.
Yeah, I mean, all he did was what Trump did was elevate Putin's status. I mean,
Right.
that's the awful thing. You know, that's awful. He elevated Putin. Now Putin hit a grand slam, and he's trotting around the bases with one wing down, as they say, and he's having a good time. Trump got played completely. I thought it was interesting watching Trump walk down the red carpet zigzagging. I don't know if you ever saw that video when he departed the plane. You know, that is kind of usually a sign of some brain injury when people cannot walk in a straight line. And if you've seen the video, he is meandering back and forth, and it's somewhat galling for me. It's very
but Joel, I believe that the Fremen walk that way to avoid the worms on Arrakis. They have a very specific walk and dance that they do.
The explanation was that it was like serpentine Shelley, you know, from the movie. He was zigzagging so he couldn't get picked off, which was not the case. But that's what they did.
But the other thing, he was whipping his leg around. He was right. Look at his right leg. He was whipping it around. While he was walking. So that was obvious.
So Ed, what are you hearing from within the Trump base of support? I know Alex Jones, the social media baron, and sometimes considered a conspiracy theorist by himself, has been noticing Trump's deterioration. He's noticing that it seems like these meetings are usually held in the early afternoon, and that either in the morning or in the evening he's practically incoherent. Talking about the fact that his ankles are becoming cankles and swelling to indicate his venous deficiency with which people suspect he's been diagnosed. In fact, Alex Jones said that he's not sure Trump is going to make it through another 12 months. Is that starting to have, pardon the pun here, legs within the Republican base as to the fact that Trump may not be able to finish off a full term?
What's happening is he countered that by Trump saying we're not going to have an election in 2028. But the important thing is that the people who are normally the people who do the protection of Trump are telling about it. Okay, if you look at polling right now, we talked about this last week with the base core of his base, whether it's 20% or 30%, all they're trying to pitch to that crowd. He's delivering on promises. He's keeping us out of Ukraine with soldiers. Okay, he's working for peace. Trump's got so much with Epstein, he can't blow it on Ukraine with swords of ground. So he's trying to use that. But down the road, yes, it's going to be more of an impact on his health. But right now, he's showing that these MAGA believe it. He's following through on his commitments on the war and on Epstein. That's it.
Joel, how are you seeing this? I mean, it seems as though there are more than a few people now who suspect that Trump, as Bill said, is being, dare I use the word, blackmailed. Whether it is by Putin, whether it is by Netanyahu, that there are those who seem to come into Washington, or here in this case Alaska, have a very brief meeting with him, and all of a sudden Trump changes tack.
That's Trump. He's labile. He's reliable on nothing. He's short-sighted. He's not well thought out. You know, what I found remarkable is when he said, "Gee, I thought this would be the easy one." It's like, what the hell are you looking at? You were president during this whole process. You think this peace negotiation is the easy one? The man has no concept of history, no concept of nuance. He's incompetent, and thank God he's an incompetent. I'll tell you that.
I tell you, I want to agree with you. I desperately want to agree with you, because the alternative is really evil and makes me very nervous. But, I don't know if it's incompetence, or I don't know if I don't give a shit, because it's like he ended 6 wars. Can somebody tell me one war he ended? But,
yeah.
He now talks about, I've ended 6 wars, some of the longest wars in history I've ended. The guy's connection with
he's untethered with reality.
Yeah.
seems untethered. The problem is it seems to continue to work, at least with that 40% of the American population. And the problem is the 60%, look, most of the time you win an election by 60%. You think,
but Bill, but I agree with you.
The problem is that 60% is so divided.
Yeah. But Bill, you got to look at his brand. When he has a brand, not to interrupt, but when you look at his brand, and it was before he got reelected, is not based upon what he says he tells the truth, what he says he's did fact check. He's basically, hey, is us against them, immigration. I'm going to make sure all these little programs like DEI, and he stands on that. So when he throws out information that's not true, or these meetings, I'm going to end the war, they know that about him. That's why it works, and he continues to get away with it. But I agree somewhat with Joel too. In time, I think the lack of you only can fake it for so long. If you guys remember that time.
Well, this is pretty long, Beverly.
I know it's pretty long, but he has 3.5 years or 3 years more to go. But that's the brand. But all of this big bullying from universities and anything, that's going to wear thin. And I think we're starting to see it now. The needle is moving a little bit, but at least it's moving in the right direction.
So I ask the question, Saeed, would it be okay if I stepped on your toes just a little bit? Because I'm curious, Ed, if you agree with me that
step away, my 12 toes won't mind.
When you look at this 60-40, it's deceiving. I mean, he still seems to have this plurality that holds him in a position where he can pretty much do what he wants.
So Allan, I'm just going to come to you in a second, but so the latest polling shows 38% approval, 31% trust him.
Oh my
but
God.
you also have enablers. You have this cadre of Republican leadership, including some on Congress, who have nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize, because God knows Pakistan and a few other countries aren't enough. There has to be some American buy-in on this. So it seems as though, like with Kaiser Wilhelm before World War I, you've got these Prussian generals that are around him to protect him and to keep saying they're there. Don't worry about the gimpy leg or the gimpy arm. Allan.
I was going to say, he is such an expert at creating chaos that he's overwhelming us with one. I mean, he's just mentioning about the museum, the African American Museum, and saying that too much emphasis on the negativity of slavery. I mean, it's just one outrage after another. We've got his guy, our Michigan man, Bill Pulte, who is helping go after all these people over mortgage issues. All these high profile enemies. And after a while, it's just so overwhelming, and people are afraid. People are afraid to speak up. I had interviewed a former FBI official, and initially he was like, I don't want to get on the radar here. People are afraid. The FBI Agents Association just came out with a statement and letters to Congress saying Kash Patel is firing people just willy-nilly, and this can't go on. It's wrong. But after a while, there's so many wrong things. And I was talking to a prominent Republican who's saying, I read the New York Times every day, and every day there's 2 Trump stories. I mean, every single day. And I said, the problem is he keeps doing bad things. And now after a while, we say, enough. We don't want to hear about it. And I think we all are so pained by what's going on. There's times where we have to check out for a couple of days, and knowing that our country is going on a down spiral, but we can't keep track of every little thing because there's no pushback.
It's Trump,
and that's just in the weddings and celebrations section of the New York Times. Alan. I mean, there's plenty of others that are going on, and I think you have a video regarding the Smithsonian situation.
I do. Let me.
President Trump says he has instructed his lawyers to scour through America's museums to rid them of exhibits he considers woke, specifically citing exhibits on slavery. President Trump targeted the Smithsonian museums, saying they are, quote, out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been.
Well, you also have the situation where he's brought in somebody brand new who certainly is no historian, certainly is no curator, but was apparently, from what I understand, one of the only lawyers who stepped up to represent him in one of the fraud and corruption cases that he had earlier. I think her name is Lindsay Halligan, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got her coming in, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the party that claims to have ended slavery the Republicans? And now they're saying, well, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. I mean, I'm just remembering my Lincoln, and that's not the car. So you have all of this going on, and I'd like to pivot to another person who might be considered an enabler. Current mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, who said that he is crediting Trump for Detroit's quote unquote historic crime rate drop. Yes, Allan.
Just a little tweak on that. I mean, I did listen. It was funny. I was driving Saturday, and I just happened to turn on CNN on Sirius Radio, and Duggan just happened to come on. And it was an interview. He credits the new U.S. attorney appointed by Trump with a drop in crime. I mean, he wasn't really singing Trump's praises per se, but he's doing it in a very slick way to try to, wink, wink to the Trumpies to say, hey.
It's not such a wink, wink.
Allan. You think it's more obvious?
Look at
the bottom line. He's getting money from Republicans. Some of those are MAGA Republicans. He'll do anything for $1 right now. Okay.
Or vote. I completely agree with Ed. Ed's got it. I mean, look at anybody here think that Duggan's stupid? Anybody think he's not politically astute? There's no way that he didn't know what kind of headlines would come out of that. There's no way that he didn't know in advance that it was going to say he credits Trump.
Well, look, he's on his consulting team. He's got Ron Weiser, who was a chief fundraiser for Donald Trump.
Yep.
Okay, and he's been getting money from. He's the bottom line. He's buying off while he's trying to get votes from everybody who's willing to give him money. Who's not tired with the woke left, as they call them.
And you've got to wonder. I mean, I do see him appealing to the Republican voters. He's trying to get these Republicans, especially outstate,
and white males on the Democratic side.
Right. You've got to wonder if that's going to bite him in the ass with the Democrats.
Yeah.
It can, very much so.
Well, it's interesting. The Detroit News, I think, was the first to report that the Democratic Party is cutting off access to candidates to data that'll help their campaigns if they publicly endorse Duggan, which to me is like you're going to sabotage the Democratic Party by trying to do that. I mean, you're going to screw up some other races. You're making it harder for the Democrats to win races if you're. Go ahead, Bill. You tell me.
Here's the problem. I mean, from a guy who considers himself a pretty loyal Democrat, if what's going on, and I think it. Hi, Nancy. An undisclosed location in the Upper Peninsula.
I think that might be a decommissioned missile silo.
Yeah,
in the UP,
which may be the only safe place around here anymore. I think that the necessity for that move, Allan, comes from the fact that people share information, and if you're supporting and you're endorsing Duggan, and you're also getting this Democratic fundraising information and names and phone numbers, and you're sharing it with Duggan, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
So,
well, funny, I have to jump in on this because I'm involved in that quite a lot. There's nothing that the House, Senate, or whether are blocking that Duggan doesn't already have in his container.
Probably true.
And number two,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And bottom line, there's people like me and Mark Rebner who also have this data. Okay. Bottom line is that the Republican Party will share their data with Duggan. The point being, the fact is there is no such thing as hidden data because all of us been in this business. And Beverly, I know you've been around. We have access to data. If we want to get it, there's no big deal there.
So I was going to think that was a strategy both on Duggan's team's part, coming out saying that, that statement, and then perhaps, I don't know who's advising the Democrats, maybe a strategy from coming out saying that, because Ed is absolutely right. Everybody basically has access to the data. So it's got to be some kind of strategy, or maybe let's come out and say, soundbite, we're doing something.
Just if I can interject here, Mr. Reed, one of our viewers, very happy to hear that your wife is safe. There was an active shooter at Henry Ford Hospital here in Detroit, but it looks like his wife, who was in there, is safe. So very happy for you and your family, sir. How about this as a theory? Do you think that Duggan makes this announcement sort of preemptively to throw Trump off the scent of sending National Guard to Detroit under the pretext that we have a rampant crime problem here as well?
That could be. I mean, it could be telegraphing, and Trump says, "Oh, they like what we're doing, and they're working with us, and he likes the appointment." He seems to be just going after. I mean, the mayor of D.C., Mario Bowser, was a critic of Trump. The D.C. City Council is a critic of Trump, and I think his way of saying "fuck you guys," I'm going to show you who's boss. I think if the deferential remark by Duggan, he already says, "Okay, I'm boss. I'm not going to mess with you." That's possible.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, because earlier this year he was going to endorse Sheffield and leave office early, okay, and he didn't. And obviously that did not happen. And obviously he doesn't want any mess with Trump while he's trying to run for mayor, while he's closing out his term with the city. That would have to take sides.
So here we have someone saying that Duggan is trying to get Republican votes because the Michigan GOP can't come up with an electable candidate. Ostensibly, I think you might mean, Ms. Drake, John James, and that Duggan's been showing up to Michigan GOP functions all over the state, as well as putting strategically placed billboards all over very red counties, or formerly blue counties as well. I mean, you go up the I-75 corridor toward the Zilwaukee Bridge, and you'll see a Duggan billboard, quite large and prominent, pretty much every 5 miles. So part of the strategy. Well, speaking of Duggan and speaking of Mary Sheffield, it looks like Ed, that endorsement did come in. That Duggan has gone ahead and endorsed the leader in the two-person race for mayor this November, Mary Sheffield. And it seems as though her opponent, Pastor Solomon Kinloch, came out quite strongly to accuse Duggan of naming his successor in doing so. Thoughts on that?
Knowing what happened earlier this year, and he was going to leave office early, this was an obvious technique on his part. And number two, he's looking at where the money is. The money he's getting is also going to Mary Sheffield. Okay, how can you piss off the people that are giving money to Mary Sheffield that you're taking it for yourself? It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Wait a minute, Ed, are you saying that Samuel Jackson is giving money to Mayor Duggan's campaign?
I didn't say that. I didn't say him. Actually, he only gave $5,000. I'm talking about the big givers.
I have a question for Beverly and Ed. How significant is, I mean, Duggan is a popular mayor. How significant of an endorsement? Does it mean anything in the race?
Well, I'm just speaking of, myself from Detroiters, and I've been hearing and around. I just think at this point in Detroit, now even you have a white base, people who are supporting President Sheffield, they're 10 toes down. They're not switching. People who are supporting Kinloch, they're not switching. I'm not sure, I think that, I don't think anybody's going to jump up and say, oh, okay, now I'm going to go ahead with Sheffield because Duggan said so. I think they would vote for her because they believe in her message and they would think she's the right one at the right time. I don't know. I mean, he might have a small influence, but I don't think it's going to have a major influence either way from what I'm hearing on what people think about both candidates. And most people, believe it or not, they've already made up their mind.
Yeah, but here's the issue, Beverly, is the point being, if Solomon doesn't get money, because right now they're nowhere, okay, on the radar screen with funds. The bottom line, knowing the opposition research that I was involved in with some major funders, there's a lot of stuff on Mary Sheffield could be exposed to take her out of office and have to, basically almost eliminate her from running for office, okay? Unless Solomon has the money, that isn't going to come forward, okay? And the news media ain't going to do it. So
no,
right
I'm not saying he will. The question was, do I think the endorsement of Duggan matters?
No.
And that's why I'm saying no. And so you're probably right with the money. And I'm not saying, all of that. I'm just saying I don't think that's going to be a heavy sway with the undecideds because he endorsed her. That's all I'm saying.
No, but the bottom line, yes, 49% of the vote did not vote for Mary Sheffield. Is there still an opportunity? Yes.
And I think a lot of times it doesn't mean because they didn't like her. You look historically at the primaries, it's low. But then you look at the general, we're hoping, some people just say, primary, I'll wait to the general. So it doesn't mean they didn't like her or him. I think you'll see, I don't know a major, but you definitely will see the numbers go up. But
you hope
just
so.
Saying on that point, small numbers, but go up. But I'm just saying, I don't think that the underside is that big number because he said he endorsed her will sway them to her. I think she will sway them to her if that's what they want on her record and her message.
Correct.
Yeah.
So on that, I mean, what voter turnout for the primaries a couple weeks ago was a little under 17%. Anemic is a great word for that. I assume that it'll be a little bit higher for the midterms because there's some other races, including for Congress. But in general, I mean, where are we as far as polling and voter turnout goes? Are we on a downward spiral? Is it a slow decline? Is it possible?
To be honest with you, let's be real here. Nobody liked anybody that was running for mayor of Detroit. They didn't want to even give money. Okay, there was basically everybody is unknown. Look at Fred Durhal. He got 300,000, but he's still 6%. Only he bottom line, he wants to run now for Congress, and only a third of his vote's going to go to the other thing. This was a lack of interest in the race. The bottom line was the vote, 4 years ago wasn't much different than this year. Okay. And right now, if the Solomon doesn't get any money and nobody running for office has any money, it could be the turnout just lower than it was 4 years ago for the general. So I don't see any excitement in the mayor's race. I don't see any reason to go out and vote.
No, I agree with that, especially if people think the election is basically over. That's
Correct.
Really just going to keep them at home even more. If they're like, well, we just going through it. But Councilwoman President Sheffield, she's already run this thing, then they won't come out.
And that may be the greatest benefit to the endorsement by Duggan.
Correct.
It is this.
He can take credit. He can take credit.
But
he
it's also
can take
the
credit.
sense that everybody's behind Sheffield now. There's why should we bother?
Yeah. But he'll take credit. He'll take credit.
Oh yeah.
So just take credit for something it had nothing to do with, like a president take credit for the stock market.
Yeah.
So just to pivot out of state briefly, I mean, since we're talking about mayoral races and what appear to be faits accompli, right now, Zoran Mamdani is polling somewhere around 43% in the New York City race. Cuomo a little bit behind him. The incumbent Eric Adams even further behind him. Eric Adams right now caught in another scandal. Apparently, one of his the liaison to the Asian community was caught handing a bag with $100 and $20 bills to a reporter. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, also polling and barely double digits. Is this a sign now that with all of the algorithms, with everything, and with these margins, are people simply giving up on races, both when it comes to donors as well as voters, that these things are pretty much a done deal?
Well, in New York, I'm looking at the fact that if Eric Adams drops out, I think Cuomo would have a better shot. Okay. But, Eric Adams is damaged. Cuomo's damaged. Okay. So the bottom line, the only way Cuomo can think is Eric Adams has to be out of it. There's no excitement for Cuomo. There never was.
Yeah.
Okay. I stand corrected. Nancy's right. It was a potato chip bag. I'm sorry, Nancy. I thought it was I thought it was a Pringles cylinder, which makes everything different.
But no, I agree with that. I think that people are, and it has started. I mean, yeah, you look at the races here locally, the excitement, but the hope. And then you look at what happened last November, because in a short amount of time, I know some people around, and even Detroit and the base, they got excited at the thought of a first female president. But then when everything happened again, and you had the current president reelected, for some folks, the energy level is done. And then even what we've experienced from January 20th all the way down, bam, 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 every day, everything, people are just turning off. They're thinking, I've talked to a lot of them, and I'm saying you can't give up. They're just thinking like, let me live my life. This doesn't make a difference. And they're spewing that like, this doesn't make a difference. And I'm just
I think Beverly's absolutely right, and unfortunately, that feeds into MAGA and Trump.
Yes,
it feeds into it.
You're kind of describing despair, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, people feel despair, and that's a terrible feeling to have. It sucks you of energy. It sucks you of motivation and drive. Right. You know, it's accepting, resigning ourselves to this new normal, which is exactly what Trump wants us to do. And those
but that's why we can't, that's why we can't, even in our own networks, even our own families, even the leaders, we got to just push everyone who's in that mindset through it. That's what I do on a daily basis. And I push them through that.
Well, Beverly, this reminds me of the early 90s when Democrats were starting to go down the tube until Bill Clinton changed the tone. We're living the early 90s, the end of the 80s and early 90s.
It may be Gavin Newsom who changes the tone. I mean, I've seen what he's done. It is so persuasive. It is so interesting. It is compelling. I mean, it's brilliant. It's mocking Trump. It's driving Fox crazy. And
Allan, I think we have
that
video.
Thing. You got to have that thing. And
he may be it. He's photogenic. He can speak. He has a lot of charisma. Maybe it's Gavin Newsom. At least he's trying, and that's something that I love to see. Because other than
he's getting plastic surgery for his face to look like Trump too.
Right.
Newsom's press office for the past week and a half has been flooding the zone by flooding social media posts with posts that mimic Donald Trump's style and doing what no Democrat has tried for the last 9 years in dealing with Donald Trump, beating Donald Trump at his own game. He says this, quote, "Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. First the hands, so tiny, and now me." Already captured the visual style of the quintessential Trump post. Newsom's social media campaign is clearly getting under the skin of many on the right.
I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And you're the governor of the biggest state in the union. What are you doing?
Aren't you the president, at least for the meantime, of the most powerful country in the world? And by the way, do you think, Ed, that Gavin's using Kristi Noem's doctor?
Yeah.
Okay. I tell you, she is a creation of modern science. He may be as well, but I tell you, I mean, I'm thrilled to see a Democrat actually stepping up and fighting back truly. And anybody who can do that and get some momentum, I'm going to follow. I mean, we need a leader. We don't have one. We need somebody to take point. He's young. He's appealing. Let's go.
At least I agree with Joe. At least he's still in some of this airtime because they're talking about him.
Right.
And he admitted he married a Republican.
Yeah, that's true.
You might recall there was a time where the Democrats were so weak, and the strongest voice before he became senator was Al Franken, who took on Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that, and he was one of the strongest voices. And I think Gavin Newsom, I mean, it's obviously we all recognize the irony of Fox and all these people whining about stuff, but they don't whine about he's mocking what Trump has been doing, and they're okay with that. But when he's mocking it, they're like, "Oh my God, how immature is he?"
What I like about Newsom is the fact that he's actually doing much better than even Arnold Schwarzenegger was trying to do the same style in his own way. Okay. So Arnold Schwarzenegger did quite well in his off the mark things. Newsom's going to think because Trump's led the story. So bottom line, there's a reason to follow through.
Well, he got under Dana Perino's skin, who was George W. Bush's press secretary, who makes Caroline Leavitt look like Dana Perino compared to Caroline Leavitt looks like Edward R. Murrow. It even affected her. But Joel, you were worried about the new normal. Fear not, there may be another new normal or abnormal. It looks like the president is now looking to start a movement against mail-in voting. In fact, going so far as claiming that we're the only country that is involved in mail-in voting, which actually isn't true. So I'm going to take a poll. How many countries in the world have some form of mail-in voting?
7 to 15, I think. Somewhere between the 7 and 15.
7 and 15? Okay. Do we got
anybody? 34.
Okay. But I know Russia does mail-in voting too.
Okay, Joel, I have a box of matches, and I'm going to drop them, and there's going to be a few left. Can you guess how many there are? Because you nailed it.
Look at that. Look at that.
30,
Unbelievable.
Good job.
I read the same
34
article. You know, it was, it's amazing. It's amazing. You know, then it's going to be women can't vote, minorities can't vote, you know, people who aren't purebred something can't vote. I mean, it's going to be, this is crazy, but it's real. And,
that means the turnout rate would be very low of who
right.
can.
But it's insanity. And it's clearly, you know, the guy's terrified. He's so insecure, and everything he touches is so tenuous.
But that would be a state by state issue, wouldn't it? As far as
it should be, it's supposed to be. That's how it's always worked. That's what the law is. So he really has that. But to even contemplate the idea of suppressing the votes even more than gerrymandering and God knows everything else is it's just a terrifying progression.
This reminds me of Germany, all the blonde white people voting in Germany.
Right. And then it's all the blonde people with blue eyes. You got brown eyes, you're out too. So it's going to keep going and going and going. That's the nature of hatred.
So, Joel, you mentioned certain groups getting targeted. Well, it looks like the Department of Justice is going after certain groups here in Michigan when it comes to higher education, targeting various Michigan universities' programs that actually help disadvantaged students. Bill, you're expressing a bit of
this is. I keep on thinking he can't do anything that's going to piss me off more.
Yeah.
But he finds a way. I mean, these programs are not just minority-based program. It's to help economically disadvantaged. This is just like his position. We've got to get rid of crime and the homeless as if they're one phrase. You know, like people who are homeless want to be homeless, and that makes them bad. It's ridiculous.
The category of humanity, but put them in a box. So you can toss it out. Yeah.
Well, that's what he's doing in D.C. He wants to send them to a foreign country, all the people that are street people in D.C.
Or to a foreign country, or a democratic state. He considers those foreign countries. But the lack of humanity in going after these programs. I mean, anybody who has any sense of history who would know that this country has always used education as a way of moving up in economic class or status. And you start taking these programs away and you're creating a caste system.
Well, I think when I think and I hear this, remind me through my trips through Mississippi and Alabama in those small towns.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Surprising, and I agree with you, Bill, but what gets me, I never expected that he would care about programs like this. And actually, it's not even the middle class, it's upper. But what would have helped is the administration and the intelligent people that he could have put around him and appointed to maybe weigh in on that. But these programs, that's not Trump to care about anything like that. Are you kidding me?
He talks about those people, Beverly, by saying those are the people that harmed me in my first administration.
Yes.
I don't want those people around.
Right.
But isn't it most likely a Project 2025 provision? I mean, again, you're right. I don't know if Trump has really thought about these things, but it just sounds like something else that the Heritage Foundation may be involved with.
It's an assault on the poor. It's an assault on those who are disenfranchised and who really have no voice. It is again, it's a manifestation of a sick society. When you have no empathy, you don't care about those who need help.
No value. He doesn't value certain things.
It is a society. It's a view of society that says that society has limited ability and resources, and anybody who takes some of the pie is taking a piece from me. It's a view of society as a scarcity.
You're right. There's no social obligation. There's no sense of social obligation to my neighbor, to my fellow, to whoever lives with me and among me, whether I know you or not. I have an obligation to you. I do. You have an obligation to me. And that obligation apparently is gone, right?
The social contract no longer exists.
It no longer exists. And so what are we to do except flail? So it's just awful.
Well, I have an obligation to recognize Allan. Allan, go.
I mean, it plays to the base of, hey, I worked, I made my money. I just watched a video on Facebook where some guy is at a gas station and he tells people, I need just a gallon of gas in there. And, and these people are on their high horse and saying, I work for my money. I work hard to buy this car. And you're coming to me and asking. And the guy, and finally somebody gives him money and he turns around and hands the woman hundreds of dollars and says, thank you for doing that. And one of the women who was like ranting is looking her jaws down like, oh my God. But the base is like, yeah, we made our money. Hey, fuck you. There's no consideration for, the challenges that other people have. I mean, a lot of us were fortunate to grow up in at least middle-class families where we had support but there's no consideration for the safety nets that we've created with these social programs.
Exactly. What I hate is the perception is most of the people who benefit from that is Black and brown individuals, and that's just not true.
Not even close to
that's
true.
Not even close.
Not even close to true. And Allan, I agree with everything you said, but the people who really drive me crazy are the people, mainly poor white people, who say, the reason that I haven't been able to work is because you took my job or you took my opportunity.
Oh my goodness. This reminds me of 1968 when I wrote a paper on welfare in Detroit.
Right.
This before it sounds like 1968 all over again. We're all leaving the suburbs because the many paying for the few. That was the whole white mission. And I did my study on Social Security. Well, it was all about, welfare was all about whites and not blacks.
Right.
Yeah. But Trump's ability, or the MAGA approach ability to pit us against one another and argue against our own self-interest seems to have no limitation. I mean, it's much like Hitler did in 1938.
Well, just to remind you, Bill, it is 4 months and 1 day until Festivus, so those airing of grievances may have to wait a little bit longer. And prepare for your feats of strength as well. Allan, I think we've got a video when it comes to the idea that Trump's base is actually going to bear the brunt of the economic chaos that tariffs and some of these other projects and programs are going to have.
Well, Albert, the Brits do have a way with words. And the Telegraph of London, which is actually very Tory, they call it the Torygraph in London, described the U.S. economy brilliantly, accurately. It's a redneck recession. Actually, the people that are getting hurt the most are Trump voters.
So true. Well, some people have apparently not learned their lessons at higher education. In fact, the NCAA has now thrown a penalty flag at the University of Michigan's football program, including fines of $50,000 and 10% of their football budget, which I think isn't that about $1 trillion? Anyway, suspensions and show cause orders for head coach Sherrod Moore. Suspensions from, I think, a couple of games this season and maybe one next year. I see, Joel, you are licking your lips about this one.
I'm chilling Fishman. I'm chilling Steve Fishman now. And Fishman would say, you can know the plays, you got to execute them, and you got to stop them. And everybody steals signs. Everybody knows what the other team's going to do. So, the punishment isn't going to really have any impact. Michigan's still going to win those games. They're still loaded. It's a slap on the wrist. It really amounts to nothing.
Well, it is. Remember, they can't do anything in the playoffs. If they get to the playoffs, they can't do anything. Whole penalties have to be removed during the playoffs.
Right.
So basically, the jumbo jet of that is the U of M machine has two people who had parachutes. One is Jim Harbaugh, who's now in the pros, and the other is former U of M president Santa Ono, who seems to have landed pretty well. He has got a new job at a Larry Ellison funded research institute known as the Ellison Institute of Technology, with offices in both Los Angeles and Oxford, England. So who's to say that there isn't some kind of pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for people like Santa Ono? Thoughts about that?
Can't stand the guy. Not happy.
Neither could I, but the fact of the matter is because of the reason that the offer at Florida was withdrawn, I think makes this poetic justice. It was his support of DEI that caused him to lose his that offer. I happen to not like him either, so it's hard for me to weigh in on this one in a positive way. But
I had one meeting with him about a year and a half ago, and
really?
This was around the time when the climate at Michigan was really very tense because of the encampments and all. Mm-hmm. And I think the adjective I would use is unctuous. Kind of a slippery guy, and not like slippery as in an eel, not unagi. But anyway, but there's others upon whom a bit of sourness is now being felt, including former President Barack Obama. His presidential center, which is I think set to open fairly soon down in Hyde Park in suburban Chicago, has been met by. That's right. I stand corrected. It's right by the Museum of Science Industry on one side and Powell's Books on the other. So it's definitely got good bookends. But it looks like the locals are just not really too happy about it. Ed, what do you know about this?
Well, I got family there. Chicago's a client of mine, the government, and I will have to agree with them. It sucks. Okay, it's over budget by twice. It looks like a prison with no windows. Okay, wow. And it's just ungodly, and it will do what they say it's going to do. I mean, I have to agree with them. If you go there, you just see what they're saying. It's bad.
Well, I'm hoping it's not. And of course, we have a little cost overrun, which is a big cost overrun. But and I'm really still trying to research this too, because I do know one of the engineering firms, as many of them, who's been working on this project and will be there next year. But my hope is, and I'm still following up with them, is that hopefully that even though the community, you always have community engagement. So I don't know this yet, but I would have hoped they would have done that.
Well, the problem is Obama had the final say on everything. Okay, it's not.
No, I know you have it. Just like 375, somebody would have had the final say so, but you always have engagement. That's what you want to do, because you want to avoid something on the back end and what blew up, like a 375. So,
but it does. I've been there and I've got friends there. The bottom line is they got a lot of work to do.
It's big. Yeah, I have to say what I've seen so far, it is big, for that area. And that's what I'm saying. I would have hoped, because, you go through all of that. And then the money, I haven't been looking into that too. That money at cost overruns, it has just exploded from the original budget that was stated. I don't know, and so I can't weigh in on that.
Well, the other thing was the fact he added buildings that weren't requested up front. He wanted to add foundation stuff. So people said if he had stuck to the original size, the original approach, there'd been no problem. When he started expanding it to other entities, that's when it really kicked in.
And they increased the zoning, the city of Chicago. But again, even though, he obviously got the permitting here, already got the rezoning and all of that, you would want something so significant as this and historical as this would be. I would have definitely wanted to, and hopefully, they did. I don't know. Involve the community beforehand, because it is big.
But one of the real significant problems for the community, and I don't know how you deal with this. I mean, President Obama, in my opinion, deserves a great presidential library. But the gentrification issue is a very serious one. The affordable housing's really going to be a problem in that area.
Yes.
And I clearly don't think that was the president's intent, but it's one of the factors.
I can definitely say you can say what he stands for. He and Mrs. Obama, he definitely don't. It's not the intent. If it comes out to be, because so conscious of affordable housing, cost of living around that area. He's not that kind of leader, and most what we know of him, that type of an individual.
Well, the big thing they have is they lost about 500,000 Black people over the last 10 to 20 years. Okay, and they're concerned of losing more. And basically, I work for the Black community in Chicago. There's my main client. They said basically they're losing says in the city council and the city government. Okay. And the more the people can't stay, then their support gets diluted, on making decisions. So bottom line, a lot of it has to do with the gentrification. I agree with you on that.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a law of unintended consequences. I mean, clearly the Obamas would have never wanted this as a consequence.
Absolutely.
If you don't think about it in advance, it is the kind of thing that happens.
Well, the other thing, the president wasn't living there for a long time. Okay, so you're not in the community. Alcide, you're right. If you don't live in the community, you don't see those things when you propose a project. And I think that's probably what happened. He wasn't there often enough.
Yep.
I think it's also a good idea that he vetoed the Barack and roller coaster. So that wasn't. Okay, last thing to talk about, and I know, Allan, you covered a little bit about this too. WDIV reporter Hank Winchester was finally cleared after a months-long criminal investigation into suspected sexual misconduct. He had been placed on administrative leave for quite some time from Channel 4, and I think that status is still something that's being worked on. What details do you know about the investigation and the process of clearing him?
I mean, it's been interesting. I mean, they raided his home. His attorneys claim they kicked down the door, which I'm a little skeptical that they would do that. But he has admitted he was on Kelly Stafford. He returned after a 9-week hiatus. He's on the Kelly Stafford podcast, where he says they took his phone. They showed a picture of the accuser, who was a guy doing like a Zig Heil salute. But I mean, it was interesting. They said the Beverly Hills police, which raided his home, did make a warrant request for charges. The Oakland County Prosecutor's Office declined the case. His two attorneys, he had Todd Flood and Neil Rockhind, and they had a press conference, but they took no questions. And so the allegations, they said the allegations are unfounded and false, but they never said what the allegations were. Fox 2 was the only one who reported that there was an allegation that he made a sexual advance unwanted during a massage. He says, Hank Winchester says he took 2 polygraphs. We saw the results of the polygraph saying that there was no deception, but we're not really, I don't know that they showed all the questions. So right now, I think he's trying to figure out what.
But Allan, do you think WDIV will put him back on air? I think that's what I'm curious about.
That's a good question. I don't know what, if it'll end up being a buyout or, I mean, they certainly, I don't think they have grounds, unless they did their own investigation, that they have grounds to say you can't return. Particularly since the message is you were falsely accused. So I think it's up in the air, but I mean.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you slightly, Allan, for this reason.
Sure.
The standard in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil case, it is not. So if there's any investigation that was done that might show that there may have been some misconduct by a preponderance of evidence, they could get rid of him under my understanding of employment law. I tell you, I have a weird view of this because I represent plaintiffs in these kind of cases. And so I like the fact that there was a thorough criminal investigation. If this guy made the allegations, and he must have had some independent basis that would have justified the filing of a search warrant and a judge signing off on the search warrant. I'm glad they did a thorough investigation. I've had some contact with Hank Winchester. I like him. My instincts tell me it wasn't him, but I've seen plenty of times where people say, oh, it couldn't have been him. He's a wonderful guy. And I had plenty of proof that it was him. So all that being said, after I saw that picture of the Sing Heil, I can't help but wonder if this was a swatting event, that this was an effort to bring down a gay man and a gay liberal man. And so that concerns me in this particular case. There are very, very, very few of these cases that are really made up stories, but this may have been one of them. in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. Very possible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alan, let's go to our last segment.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
All right, and there's plenty to go around. Beverly, who's yours?
Yeah, mine's going to be simple because it really upset me again yesterday to actually see in D.C. where, the military was deployed, and I think that, anyone, I can't even say enough about the current president, but any of our Congress leaders, senators, any top leaders on his administration really didn't stop him, because really the optics of it, you're not even working with local government. You're coming in to take over local government and the voice of the people who elected those local leaders. So they're just the Schmucks of the week for me. And I mean, it really was upsetting to see that yesterday, and possibility now the stories are more and more coming. Could this happen in Chicago? But more importantly, home here, could this happen in Detroit?
Sure.
Well, not now, because Duggan has announced that we have a lower crime rate, so nothing to see here, folks. But the White House also is allowing social media to tag along to record the violence, to then post on various influencers' accounts on various apps. So
I was glad to see the citizens standing up.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
that was good. And Sandwich Guy. Alan.
I was going to say real quick, it kind of bothers me when people say, we don't need help. Our crime rate is down, where they still have 100, 200 murders or whatever. I think the appropriate thing is to say, look, we're not in a crisis. Our crime rate is down. But look, if you can give us help, you want to give us 10 FBI agents to put on a violent crime task force. You want to give us 5, 10 ATF agents to put on a violent crime task force. We'll take the help, but we don't want it in the form that you're doing it in DC.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't care what the crisis is. Military troops in American cities to enforce civil law, the criminal law, should not be allowed.
Yeah, that's absurd. I mean, and now that they're armed, I'm telling you, shit's going to happen. Somebody's going to get shot. I mean, things do not go smoothly in the world. My theory is that if you're competent, you're exceptional, and most people simply aren't exceptional, especially in government. And I think we're going to see with this National Guard is that you're creating so many opportunities for something to go horribly wrong. That's something well, and then there'll be a reaction, and maybe we'll have another Black Lives Matter movement in front. Maybe we'll have more. Going back to say this is unacceptable, and I hope I hope nobody gets hurt, but I can see that occurring.
And I love it just to call it American, lives matter. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be. I mean, we need a movement that says fascism and autocracy we will not accept, and that movement needs to take form. And again, I hope
he could have done what Bill Clinton did by here's officers for your city. Okay, with all the money they're spending, they could have here's more officers for your city.
Exactly.
I think you're also going to see less people from the suburbs of DC coming into DC. They're going to be like, why do I want to come in? There's checkpoints, there's guards everywhere, there's a military. It looks like a crisis.
And how does that help the economy?
Created a crisis.
Well, and amazingly, he had the nerve when dealing with Gaza and dealing with what's going on in Ukraine to say it's one of the most violent places in the world. What? I mean,
all I know is in '72 there was a big burglary in DC and nobody called in the National Guard. I mean, I'm just saying. But Joel,
you can go back to January 6th, but okay, I'm done.
But Joel, I mean, and that's not even counting the possibility of a false flag, which then will. Yeah,
I've got a great story. It'll take a minute, but a guy, Martin Weil from the Washington Post, who's still there. He's in his 80s. Marty was, I interviewed him for the 50th anniversary of Watergate. He was on as editor at about 1 o'clock at night. There was a police radio. It said, door ajar at the Watergate, door ajar. And he thought of sending a reporter out there and he said, nah. So in the morning, they get a call from the lawyers for the Washington Post, who also represented the DNC. And they said, hey, there's been a break-in at the Democratic National Committee. You might want to, look into that. So they sent a reporter there, an old-time police reporter, who shows up to the Watergate. And you're not supposed to misidentify yourself. So there's cops all around, swarming all around the Watergate office there, and the DC reporter, the Post reporter, shows up, and the cops look at him and say, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Downtown." And they said, "All right, go ahead." So
that was great.
And there is no downtown DC. I mean, is that Southwest, Southeast? I don't know. Ed,
I have two. I'm going to be humorous on this one here. Earlier this week, Trump explained why he's involved in Ukraine. He heard from a number of sources that he's not on a totem pole to get to heaven. And he feels by helping people and reducing life that he may move up the totem pole and actually get to heaven. That's a big schmuck, okay? I couldn't believe that, okay? That's not good. And the second one, talking about schmucks and about the quality of the people Trump was Laura Loomer, okay? This was a week ago. And I have to say that the fact is, under testimony, under oath, in the HBO trial, it says is that Marjorie Taylor Greene has got Arby's in her pants, okay? And the attorney says, "Why do you?" She's got Arby's pants. Don't you know that Arby's sells beef? That was her response under oath.
Oh God!
Oh, yeah.
see, I thought you were going to say, Ed, because she complained, and the State Department, on her bequest, halted the medical visa program from Gaza for critically ill children.
Yeah, well, the Arby's would seem more tasty. I'm just kidding.
That was good.
You know, where's the snare drum when we need it? All right, Bill.
Mine goes to the FBI and the Justice Department. I'm no big fan of John Bolton or any of these other Republicans that they're investigating, but I am a big fan in the old Hebrew quote, "That which you hate, do not do to others." After all the phony investigations that Trump complains about and targeting and stuff, Trump coming out and going after, using the FBI, weaponizing the FBI and the Justice Department, it has become sport for him. Yeah. And so the FBI and the Justice Department that's doing it, that's prosecuting these people and going after them, and they're my schmucks of the week. This is not what we're supposed to be about.
You wonder, though, Bill, if Kash Patel was just so eager to please his boss, did he actually make the suggestion? And by the way, that quote sounds a lot nicer in its native Klingon. So,
but you know the other problem, Bill, is the fact is that they're cutting FBI staff by half. Pretty soon there'll be nobody left at the FBI to do anything.
Right. And Ed, isn't Gabby or Tulsi Gabbard cutting the DNI Department of National Intelligence staff by half as well, or a third?
Well, that's just through hiring the people on the cabinet.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
She's cut the IQ of the department by substantially more than half.
Okay. Joel.
90%.
One for Trump claiming that he's a war hero. President Bone Spurs, a war hero because he stopped all those wars, 6, 7, 30, 40, who knows. That bothers me. And also Stephen Miller. He was out in the hall trying to trumpet whatever they're trying to do, and people are calling him a Nazi and a fascist. And every time that guy speaks, it's the most jarring experience that I can think of. The guy is a lunatic. He's full of rage, full of hate, and he's shaping policy. And this is not a well person from what I can see. This is a person who is very small and is trying to be very big, much like many people in that Trump administration. And he's wreaking havoc and causing real damage to real lives. And he is my schmuck of the week. He's very dangerous. And I think there should be more talk about him. I mean, this guy's a very dangerous, malevolent human being.
But you got to remember, Joel, he has nothing to do when he goes home because his wife is with Elon Musk.
Right. Right. I mean, it's just really disturbing to me that a person like that, I won't call him a man like that, a person like that can be creating policy, and you know that this person is not all right. You just know it. You can sense it, and it's terrifying to me. So he's my biggest schmuck, and he's a perennial.
All right, Allan.
I'm going to say Michigan's homegrown Bill Pulte, head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who is drumming up all these making all these reference to mortgage fraud to investigate all these people, Adam Schiff, Letitia James, Federal Reserve Governor, what's her name, Lisa, whatever. And I mean, he's just part of the whole weaponry that's going on there. And also talking about the weaponry, Kash Patel, who's just doing whatever. He's just a stooge for the White House.
That guy's a goof.
They're executing, and between him and Pam Bondi, they're carrying out. I mean, it's so sad because at least in the first term of Trump, he tried to hire people who were legitimate. And that's why there were impediments to him carrying out what he's doing now. Now he's just hired all these frauds to head all these departments, and they're carrying out whatever he wants.
All right. Well, I've got two. One is, and this is jointly and severally, the city of Las Vegas, Clark County, the state of Nevada, and the U.S. federal government for allowing Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, an Israeli division head at the Israel National Cyber Directorate, who was caught in a FBI sting operation for soliciting minor children in Las Vegas at a convention last week, to allow him to return to Israel by simply letting him go with just a bond. There is no extradition treaty with the state of Israel, so good luck on him being able to come back and face prosecution if they were even going to, in fact, press charges against him. And the other is, again, jointly and severally, American Airlines and the drunk passenger at Chicago O'Hare Airport who demanded to have the TV channel changed in the Admirals Club lounge there. And he claimed he could do so because he had concierge key status, which is the highest lounge status for American Airlines.
Big.
And when people complained, American Airlines relented and said, yup, he's got concierge key status. And so he is entitled to allow everyone to then watch what the hell he wanted to watch. I am very glad that Delta Airlines, despite the fact that they are suffocating our ability to maintain lounge access because of all of these conventions and programs and policies, if I am lucky enough to get into the lounge, I get to watch what I want and not just on my own device. So American Airlines and whoever you were, you heavily inebriated, yet very high elite status passenger, you're my schmucks as well.
But remember, Saeed, now you can't fly to Mexico because they're going after Delta for using the Mexican Airlines without the tariffs.
you know, these from someone of my background are very much first world problems. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for yet another great weekend. As I said before, thank you for the situation at Henry Ford Hospital coming to some kind of resolution. Mr. Reed, again, very happy that your family is safe and sound now, despite what must have been a bit of a harrowing couple of hours. Thank you, Beverly Watts. Thank you, Ed Sarpolus. Thank you, Joel Sklar. Thank you, Bill Seikaly. And thank you, and at the last word, always, Allan Lengel.
Drive home safely.
Have a great weekend, everybody.